I don't know if I can take it anymore.
When you are depressed, you don't want to get
It
out of
seems
bed.
so hard
You
today.
don't want to be bothered with anyone.
I don't have any
But
motivation.
overcoming depression is going to require that you get up and engage with life again.
All I want to do is sleep.
When you are feeling down, the worst thing you can do
The last thing
is
I want to do is
isolate
hang out
yourself,
with my friends.
because isolation actually intensifies sadness.
I don't think this will ever
So
go
I
away.
recommend finding a distraction that will shift your energy.
I wish somebody would just save me from this mental hell. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. And today I have Beth Schupanitz. She is a nutritional response testing practitioner with functional blood work specialist. Does that get it all? How about you tell us what your title is?
Well, I'm a nutrition response testing practitioner,
Okay.
which is a form of muscle response testing. So we can analyze the body and figure out what organs and glands are affected and then what stressors they have. And then I also am a functional blood work specialist. So I review your labs through a functional lens versus the medical lens, which is much broader. So yeah, I compare the two together and that's what I do.
So that's a lot, right? So let's talk about it in layman's term. And I understand what you're saying only because I've done all of this stuff, but I would say that the average person just went, what?
Yep.
So tell me, how do you look at blood or lab work in a functional way versus like a doctor would look at it?
So the medical ranges are very broad, so they're very large ranges, and the functional or optimal ranges, which are not my ranges, they've been out there from many different labs and viewpoints, and these are finding more optimal levels. So they're much more narrow. And with those, I review someone's labs, I take them all in, I can tell them what ones to order from their doc, and if they already have them, I can utilize them. I don't order the labs. And I look through them through the functional lens and find those hidden infections and imbalances and deficiencies. And we can go from lab to lab and connect the dots, create this puzzle piece that may be missing in, when so many people say that my labs are coming back great. My doctor said my labs are great. I just had a gal last week say that, but she had constipation really bad, like every 4 to 5 days is when she goes, low energy, weight gain, brain fog. So she says, my labs are great according to my doctor, but I feel like crap. So the functional way of looking at things will dig deeper and find those hidden infections and deficiencies very easily.
So basically functional meaning like you're looking at the way their body is functioning versus just basic, like, okay, let's make sure you have enough iron in your system. It might be, well, yeah, you have enough iron in your system, but you still have inflammation. So let's see where the inflammation is coming from. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely looking at it, if your cholesterol is up, well, gosh, do you have an issue with your liver? Do you have an issue with your gut? Do you have an issue with too much iron? And so we can want to look at all of those panels and kind of connect the dots to figure out what's going in there. Because if you have high cholesterol, the answer is not just giving you a statin. The answer is finding out, back it up, what's the root cause on why your cholesterol is at a higher level. Foods are definitely going to be a piece of it, but is your liver congested? And we need to support that and help, your liver deal with all of that, because everything goes through the liver.
Right.
So understanding labs and to be able to see that is huge to kind of piece it all together. And then what's nice with the nutrition response testing, we can actually look at the individual and muscle response test them, whether it's virtually or in person. It doesn't have to be in person. The virtual is amazing how it's working out with the accuracy of it all. But we can specifically find out what is their body dealing with at this specific time. What's the stressor? What's the organ and gland? And then we can figure out what their solution is. Is it foods? Is it meditation? Stress reduction? Is it herbals, nutritionals, homeopathics? Those are the processes that I go through.
And tell us, like, for somebody who doesn't have any idea of what muscle testing is, what exactly is that?
Well, oh, that's hard to show without showing it, or hard to tell without showing it. But if you go to the doctor and he hits your knee with that little rubber hammer, your knee goes up. It's a reflex. Okay. So typically we can use fingers or we can use your hand. I can test for you, on myself. But it's the reflex or the answer to how your muscle responds to the question. And we can do it with vials, little vials that have energies coded in there. Excuse me. Or we can just ask through intentions. But it's getting a response of how the body is responding to that question or to that stressor.
And would you say that that kind of goes with the idea that our bodies intuitively know what's good and bad for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when we are eating something and we know, and like, you get that weird feeling where you're like, I know I'm not supposed to be having this. And not because it's like, something that your doctor said you're not supposed to have. It's just something that, like, I'm going to give you an example, eggs. I had no idea that I was sensitive to eggs, and I
Sure.
was eating eggs all of the time and I had horrible, horrible inflammation, and nobody could figure out why I had such bad inflammation. So they're doing this and they're doing that and da, da, da. And so I did one of those sensitivity tests, which is just like a blood test, right?
Right.
And it came back that I was sensitive to eggs, and I could not believe it. I was like, there's just no way possible. So I kept eating eggs. But then when I would eat the eggs, I could feel that I couldn't feel well. And then I'm like, well, is this my mind now playing tricks on me? So I just finally decided to eliminate eggs out of my diet. And it's been like, I don't know, probably a year now. I don't eat eggs and I feel fine.
Yeah. Isn't that
It's just,
funny?
isn't that weird? I mean, and I know it's yours is a little bit more different, right? Because it could
Yeah.
be if the food is heated, it's not good for you versus if it's raw,
Right.
but it is still kind of that thing where we do stuff we know we shouldn't be doing. And it's kind of interesting when we find out what it is.
Well, and is it eggs that you have an issue with, or is it that you were eating eggs that were being fed soy and corn and it wasn't organic? So the glyphosate that is sprayed on the soy and the corn was the problem. And then the chicken ate that and then it came out in its eggs, and you really had the issue with glyphosate and it wasn't the egg. Or, so we can play around with it, find organic and soy-free eggs, meaning that the chicken isn't given soy. I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. And if you ate a lot of them, you might have developed an intolerance because you ate too many. So some people, if you get rid of it for 30, 60, 90 days, and then introduce a little bit back in, your body can handle it again. Or is it that you don't have enough digestive enzymes and probiotics and mucosal lining support in your gut to break it down properly? So there's many factors on whether or not we have a food sensitivity or an allergy or a true allergy to a food.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
you're saying there's a chance I can eat eggs again.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. And I knew someone that had an egg allergy as a kid, and he could eat it in cooked items.
Yes.
But he could never eat it separate.
That's
And now that he's older, he can actually eat eggs again and he doesn't have any reaction. So you can grow out of it, but it's different for everybody.
right.
You can't say that that's going to be your case.
So this podcast based a lot on mental health, right? So I am so interested to hear about how what I eat and what my body does to process it, how does that affect me with my mental health?
Well, there is that, gut brain connection. And, so much of our neurotransmitters are made in our gut. And if our gut is off and we're not properly digesting our food properly because we don't have enough enzymes or probiotic or enough hydrochloric acid in our stomach to break down our foods, or the imbalance of our microbiome, meaning we have too much yeast or fungus or mold or parasitic activity, all of that will change, or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, all of that will change our microbiome and how it's put together. And that is going to affect our neurotransmitters, which neurotransmitters are the feel-good neurotransmitters for our brain. And, we have a microbiome in our brain. We have one in our gut. We have one in our skin. So there's different types of microbiomes in our body. And again, if we're eating crappy processed foods, we are not going to be pulling out nutrients that actually support us. If we're eating processed, crappy refined oils and sugars, those both will cause dramatic inflammation in our gut. And that inflammation is going to inflame the brain. Glues and gums and dyes in artificial, Skittles or, some of these candies and, what's popular with my teenage boys, Takis. They just almost like, oh my gosh, make my head explode. But, it's full of chemicals. It's full of bad preservatives and colors and chemicals, but it just lights up your brain in a negative way. So all of these things have been documented by science. I'm just not researching it. But when you take someone off of a processed diet and put them on a clean, healthier diet, adding in fermented vegetables and foods, kimchi and sauerkraut and kombucha or kefir, all of those are fermented foods, which create digestive enzymes and probiotics and helps bring down inflammation. It's an amazing way to add more nutrients. When you add in good quality fats, coconut oils and olive oils and avocado oil, eating avocados and olives and raw nuts and seeds, all of those are good, healthy fats that the brain needs. Our brain needs good fat. Every single cell of our body needs good, healthy, clean fat. So, in eating those fruits and vegetables, obviously we need antioxidants and fiber, and fruits and vegetables have prebiotics, and prebiotics feed the probiotics in our gut. So it all works together, and that's how foods can totally affect us in an appropriate way, and helping brain health. I mean, you just feel better, right?
Right. Well, and so then I hear that, right? And I'm a working mom who's already exhausted.
Yep.
And try to give my kids like the best things that I possibly can. But like you said, your teenagers eat Takis and that's just what they do. And that's what their friends do. And that's what's at the schools, which is absolutely ridiculous.
They don't get it from me.
Right. Yeah. But I hear that. And then my mind goes, okay, this is too overwhelming. I think that she's probably right. And all of that sounds like a lot for me to try to do on the fact that I'm already busy. I already still don't feel well because my body isn't functioning correctly. So I don't have that energy. It's like the chicken, what the chicken was chicken, egg, that kind of thing. Right. So I know you have to do it, but how do you even start when that just seems like it's to even think about it is exhausting?
Yep. Oh, that's a big question, but a real one. And I feel you, my kids, I have an 11th and a 9th grader right now. And so they just started taking school lunch last spring. And the reason being is that they started to complain about, the food that we were bringing. And I would make whole, healthy, happy, organic, nice food in the morning and for breakfast and lunch. And then they got older and they found the vending machine and they saw what some of their friends were eating at school and they wanted to try the school lunch. And I'm just like, teenagers normally are starting to exercise their power and break away from mom and dad. That is normal and natural. And I'm like, okay, it's 5 meals a week. I got to let it go. You can't be so neurotic with your food. Like I might have been guilty of that when they were really young, but they had I made their school lunches every day up until, last spring. So it's been now a year. And now they're starting to come back and say, yeah, the school lunch is kind of gross, mom.
Yeah,
it is gross. I have it every day. And I'm like, nope, you need to help me shop and put together your lunches on the days that you're going to have, bring your lunch. And so it is starting to come full circle. So if you were to work on 1 or 2 things in your home, because you're a busy mom and trying to figure it out, let's go back to, and I wanted to address don't be neurotic about the food with your kids because it can get that way. But, and I'm not saying you're neurotic. I'm just saying in my experience.
No, I'm a little neurotic. It's okay. No worries.
Yeah. But you get where I understand. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's going to happen with or without you. And you got to let them experience how their body doesn't want those things. I have
Yes.
come to learn. But two things to focus on: get rid of the sugar and get rid of the refined oil. The refined oil, there's kind of a talk amongst us health coaches that what's worse, sugar or refined oil? And, there's a camp of absolutely sugar is really bad. It causes inflammation, inflames your body. It increases weight. It gives you problems with gut health. It screws up your hormones. Yes, we know. The refined oil, the half-life is like over 100 days in our body, and that it gumps up our cellular layers, if this is a cell, and the receptors. So refined oil is causing inflammation as well, and it's causing joint pain, and it can cause all sorts of other issues with our hormones and cholesterol and so on and so forth. So they're both bad. So if you worked on two things, get rid of the sugar and the refined oils and eat
That's
food
really
that
cool.
God gave us.
Yeah. I do always try to tell my kids, if it comes from, a plant, from a tree, from the ground, it's better for you. And then, unfortunately, our society doesn't support that, kind of
Right.
like what you were saying, the school lunches. The school lunches are absolutely disgusting. It would be an amazing, if anybody can help come up with a way to get that taken care of, because I can't believe they even feed it to our children. That's a whole nother discussion. Our country, oh, of course it's money. Everything's about money. But then again, so you say get rid of the refined oils and the sugars, and that's still a lot.
Yep.
It's still a lot because it's in so much stuff, right?
Right.
And so is there a easier way to just say, okay, let's start with the things that we can control and pick a meal and say every breakfast will be, without oil and sugar and stuff like that. And we will make sure they drink water, or every dinner will be made from things that grow on the earth. Right. And that's what that will be like for somebody who needs to just get started. And all of that sounds beautiful. And eventually they would love to be there. What is the easiest way for them to at least pick? And we can't say get rid of all sugars, because they can't. Let's be honest. When you have a busy life, the first thing you do is you're going to say to your children, we're going to get rid of sugars, and they're going to have mini meltdowns, and you're going to get a migraine, and then you're going to hate your life. So is there a way for us just to maybe just start with one meal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I never tell people that they're going to be perfect when it comes to this. I'm not perfect. How can you be perfect? Perfection doesn't exist. So you look for progress. So take one meal, one item to get out of the house. One of the biggest thing for me, because I'm a prior sugar addict,
Yeah.
I couldn't have it in the house, and that helped me out tremendously as far as improving my health and getting me where I need to go. See, I had bronchitis 15 times by the time I was 19 years of age. So tons of antibiotics totally destroyed my gut and my liver. So I was craving it because my microbiome was so out of balance. I craved it and I wanted more.
Mhm.
So the little by little you start pushing it out, the less you want of it, and the less you're going to crave the things that are healthier for you. So if you want to start with one meal or one item to get out of the house, let's say it's refined oils, then we start reading labels or purchasing foods without labels. But the biggest thing when you look at your meal, you want to look at your plate and say, okay, what's my healthy protein? So let's say it's grass-fed beef. So you make a hamburger. What's my healthy fat? Let's say it's grass-fed butter. That's going to go on your healthy, colorful carb. Your healthy, colorful carb, let's say it's broccoli. That is a meal we eat often. A protein could be beef or chicken. And then the broccoli with some butter. We might add a sweet potato because I don't need as many carbs at my age, but my boys need carbs, higher carbs. So a sweet potato might be good, or maybe they'll have some rice or quinoa on the side. So you always look at what's my protein, what's my fat, and what's my colorful carbs. Colorful carbs being your veggies first and then fruit. And if you did that on your just one thing, look at your plate every time you eat, and that's eating in balance. That will help control blood sugar levels. It won't have the highs and lows of sugar imbalances, so you're craving more of the bad stuff.
Right.
But just pick one of those things. removing sugar, removing refined oils, or just looking at
Balanced
a
plate.
healthier plate. Yep. And
Yep.
I always say, eat foods that God gave us.
Yep.
And you'll say, does this come from nature, or is man altered it? And if man altered it, and there's a bunch of things on the label, you don't even know what it is, put it back. Put it back in the
Although I think then the argument could be that they even alter the stuff that comes from nature at this point. It's ridiculous.
Yes, that is true, but
Yeah.
you know,
But you have to start somewhere, right? We can't solve all the problems in 1 minute.
right.
Dang
And
it.
you know what? Our food supply is innately tainted because the chemicals and pesticides are in the air and the water and the soil. But so you do the best that you can with the ability that you have. And don't go so neurotic about it that you can't live life and it takes all the joy out, because let's face it, with mental health, we just need to do one or two things progressing us to where we want to be.
Right.
And you
And then
can't.
it kind of leads that way, right? Once you feel better, then you can make better decisions.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so I think sometimes we forget about that part of it. It's like, it seems so overwhelming, but if we just do one little thing or two little things, as we begin to feel better, then it's not as overwhelming because we feel better.
Right.
Yeah. Nice.
Right.
What
And
got you into? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, please.
Well, the other thing that I want to suggest too is that we are a society, and I was taught this years ago to teach this in my health coaching piece of it, is that we should have 3 meals a day and 3 snacks. Well, I'm sorry, but that's like a full-time job, just preparing food.
Yep.
And, you know, when I started fasting about 6 years ago, it was liberating because I had so much more time on my hands. And the health benefits from fasting was amazing, because you can really reset your microbiome and get that in more balanced and in harmony. That, again, that's where your neurotransmitters, your mental health is so much better. So really, we should be eating no more than 3 meals a day, and with a protein, fat, and colorful carb each time we eat, 3 meals a day. And you can even push that to 2 meals a day. But remember, fasting isn't about deprivation. It's about eating less often. It's not eating less food, it's eating less often. So you could start as, you know, just pushing your breakfast back, or skipping breakfast altogether and adding fasting in, because research and science has shown us that when you fast for certain periods of time, you can improve GABA, you can improve serotonin and dopamine. And those are the calming neurotransmitters to help us get more calm. And it also releases brain fog when your body isn't spending so much time digesting our food and breaking that down. When we eat less, our body spends more time cleaning house and getting rid of congestion and getting rid of cells that are hanging on but aren't really efficient anymore, and we can get them out. So adding fasting can actually add time to our life. And there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it. So that's something I coach people through.
Right.
It is a helpful piece to add it in with eating real healthy, high quality foods, along with having a fasting lifestyle.
Yeah, it's interesting because as we have all these solutions that, you know, actually do work, and then, you know, my mind again always goes to the person who can't afford the high quality foods. And then this is nothing you can fix. It's just a cycle that's unfortunate in society. And there's nothing you can answer about. We all agree that that's just the way it is. It's just so sad to hear that they're like, people are just kind of destined to have bad health the way that we live. And maybe by asking these questions that can change at some point, you would hope. So tell us, how is it the bronchitis that got you interested in this? Like, how did you get into this?
Oh yeah, I was in sports my whole life, and you know, my younger life, and I was sick all the time. Change of season, I ran track and played soccer, and the allergies were horrible. The digestive tract was horrible. And I had very strong diabetes in my family. My mother is a diabetic. My grandmother and her 9 siblings that she had had diabetes, and my grandmother was blind from it. So I definitely didn't want to show up in my later life with diabetes. And it's, it's a horrible disease. So that got me interested. And then my dad was diagnosed with cancer at 58. So that definitely kicked me in the butt to say, whoa, what's going on here? How do I change it? So I got very interested in health and wellness, really from my high school years on. And, little by little.
What are all those little jars in the background?
Oh, those are just my food. I have,
Are they herbs or are they?
No, there's chia seeds and beans and pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, I believe, are there. There's some brown rice.
It's just kind of your little area that has all the good things for you.
Yeah, I just always kind of liked the way that looked, and we just built this pantry about 3 years ago. So it was my office is in my pantry. I have a brick and mortar office as well, but when I work from home, this is my space.
Well, I love it because the reason why I ask is that it's like, it kind of reminds me of the idea that if you just start taking the stuff out of your cabinets, you can't eat them. Like you said, you don't have them in the house, right? So as I look at that stuff and you're like, well, it's just my chia seeds, my this and that. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's cool because they're right there and you can eat them and you don't have to say like, I don't have chia seeds. They're like right there.
Right.
Yeah, right there. And I guess it's all about changing. So tell me about your program and how one would get started. Where do we begin?
Well, I do one-on-one coaching, I do some group coaching, and then I have a online do-it-yourself 7-day sugar cleanse. And that you can see more about it at easysugarcleanse.com. But what that was designed was 7 days. Anybody can think in 7-day terms. I mean, when I first started my journey, I was like, a whole month, what? Oh my gosh. It seemed like a lot. And I think for a lot of people, it does if they haven't worked on that piece. So I thought, everybody can think in terms of 1 week. Yeah. And basically, I designed the program for those people who go to fast food frequently, or they're not really used to eating healthy foods or focusing on their foods. And I put together a 7-day sugar cleanse that teaches them a little bit about how their body works, why we want to do these things, and how to implement it into their current lifestyle. So I give them a shopping list. I give them recipes. I give them a meal plan that if they just eat this way and step by step, how do you prep for it? How do you prepare for it? How do you save time in the kitchen? All of those things are incorporated in the 7-day sugar cleanse. They get 3 pre-recorded calls that kind of keep the motivation and the mental side up so they know what's changing in their body, what they're improving on. Yeah. Why is it that I feel I got a little headache the first day or two, which, is releasing that insulin and getting sugar back sugar levels back balanced. So it puts together, it guides them. I'm walking them through. They get daily emails to kind of understand the further education, continuing the conversation, and then they get a free call with me afterwards. So they know, okay, I did this, I had success, I lost weight, I had better energy, my sleep was better, et cetera, et cetera. And now what do I do?
Right.
And so we walk them through, based on their experience and what's going on in their world. So
I like that because it gives them a way to see if it kind of works for them, right? Absolutely. Yeah, I do XYZ. I actually do feel better, or it made me feel worse because I was withdrawing from XYZ. And this is why I need to withdraw from it, because my body feels so nasty and it doesn't, when I'm withdrawing from it, it's obviously not good for me. So it sounds like it's, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just saying, it sounds like it's actually, like you said, people can think in 7-day increments, and it sounds doable. I mean, I would get off and look at it and kind of go through and see if it's something that we could make work in our home,
Right. Yeah. And, it's all foods you can find at the grocery store. There's not a bunch of potions or shakes or, there's a couple recommended supplements, but you don't have to get them. They're a choice. They just help with further detoxing. But this is really a way of showing people how real foods heal. Right. And in 7 days, people truly get results by improving their brain fog, their energy, their sleep, and people lose weight and lose inches in just 7 days. It's kind of amazing to me because it's like 7 days, your body can change when you do what your body is craving for and wanting.
Right. What it's meant to do. Right.
Right.
Do you have a lot of people who come to you and they're on antidepressants and anxiety meds and all of those different things? And what happens with that?
Yeah, absolutely. When I work with people, I get that background information, but I'm not medically trained, so I don't diagnose, treat, cure anything. And according to the FDA, I know nothing. So,
Yeah.
I will never tell them to reduce or eliminate any kind of medication. However, I've had a lot of people that when we change their foods and work with their foods and we give them the supporting nutrients that their body needs to get rid of a toxin or stressor, they feel better and they either need less of or can eliminate a medication, but they work with their doctor on that. I help them put those, implement those healthy lifestyle habits in, from food to stress reduction to exercise, to getting sunlight. All of those things will help their body function at a higher level. And a lot of times they're like, I don't think I need this med anymore.
Right.
So it's you gotta do things daily to help your body be at its optimal. If you decide that you're not going to put oil in your car anymore, it's not going to work.
Right.
And you need to do that maintenance. You need to put the gas in every couple of weeks. You need to change the oil. You need to pump the tires. You need to change the filters. So if we do that to our car or our furnace or something else we have to maintain, we have to understand we have to give our body high quality nutrients, because if you put water in the gas tank, it's not going to work. It's the same thing with our body. If you keep putting junk food in, your body's going to replicate junk food and give you junk results.
Yeah. There's different authors out there who like to talk. There's the liver cleanse guy, right? Where it's like, have you Andre Mortis or something like that? All kinds of different things that people write about that sometimes you wonder if it's actually true or not true. Like, how did you get your information to make sure that it was something that was valid?
Well, you got to have it, backed up by science. You got to have, respected practitioners who are teaching that. I always kind of had a rule in the beginning that if I see 3 different practitioners that aren't interconnected teaching about something or is the same thing, then that's another way of validating it. But, in this world of the internet, you can always find 3 opposing views too. And the thing about health is that we're all different. What works for you may not work for me and vice versa. So that's where reading the labs and doing the muscle response, the applied kinesiology, which is muscle response is rooted into applied kinesiology, and figuring that out really gets us honed in on what that person needs and what that individual needs to deal with or not. So which one is right? Well, I think they all have pearls. I don't recommend any specific diet 100% of the time for 100% of the people.
Right.
I really subscribe to diet variation, which is I may be vegetarian for a week, I may be keto for a week, I may be carnivore for a week, and then I'm adding different fasting protocols and different ways of doing it. I may eat with the seasons. I may do longer fasts. I may do shorter fasts. I may not fast at all and just feast, but feasting on healthy stuff. So you got to change it up to keep your body metabolically flexible and guessing and diverse with food. It's because the more diverse you are, the more diverse your microbiome will be. We should have over 1,000 species in our gut. Most Americans have around 300. No wonder we are not diverse and we're not figuring out how to combat illnesses and diseases and things like that, because our microbiome is not as diverse as it should be.
And so when you say American, what comes to my mind is quick fix. So there's not just a pill we can take, right? And that's the thing that we want. We want a pill we can take, which is why they can sell pills and say, this is how this works, right? It'll fix everything. All you need is one pill. But it really is a lifestyle change.
Yes, I 100% agree. Just like the analogy with the car, you can't just give your car, water in the gas tank and think it's going to run properly. I had a doctor once that was one of my mentors, and I don't know if I'll say it right exactly, but he would say we need to eat right, think right, drink right, move right, poop right, sleep right, pray right, be right in order to feel good.
Right.
And, so it's several different things. Supplements aren't the number one answer. I would say probably food is there, but it's not the whole equation.
Yeah.
You still got to get to bed early, and you still have to deal with stress and manage things that aren't serving you well in your life. You got to move your body. I don't care if that's dancing in your living room or going to the gym and pumping iron. But a menopausal woman needs to do that differently than a 20-year-old.
Right.
So we all have different needs at different stages of life. And, an older woman in, I'm saying like 45 on up, we definitely need to honor the change that is going on in our bodies and do exercise differently. We're not going to be, having high intensity all the time like I did when I played soccer. You're constantly running and moving. That doesn't serve my body as much as doing yoga or doing a HIIT workout or strength training. So there's different ways we need to maneuver within our lifestyle and our life age of our life on what will serve us best and support our hormone growth and that kind of thing.
Hence why we have somebody like you, because all of that sounds like a lot of work for somebody like me. So if we had somebody like you telling us how these things work, and obviously we'll learn along the way, but you've already done all of that back work, right? So these are more likely, this is more likely to help you based on your blood work over this and things like that. Whereas some people might say, well, yeah, that's nice, I'll just look it up on the internet. But like you said, you can find anything you want on the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right for you.
Right. Doesn't mean it's right for you.
Yeah. And at different times, one thing might be right and another thing might not be. There are days that I want to go running and that feels good, but I'm not going to do a 10-mile run anymore. It just doesn't serve me as it before it did. But a 2-mile run actually feels good some days, but there are days my body doesn't want to do that, and changes in the cycles. But you know what? The main thing is just move your body. What feels right for you? So I don't want you, Barbie, to think about it as being really a lot of work. Just say, okay, I want to get 20 minutes, 30 minutes in. What do you want to do for movement today?
Right.
And if you can add a little cardio and a little strength training in that, awesome. And that can be done right there next to your door, right behind you. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be difficult.
The gym. Yeah. You don't have to make it difficult, right? You don't have to have a Peloton. You don't have to go to the gym, which I have both memberships, but not being used as much as they should. But yeah, and I always goes, there's a saying that says you should on yourself, right? Yeah. Like right. should. But and I think that again goes with the mental health thing, is the more we pile stuff on our plate, the less likely we are to do it, it goes back to having a coach.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. And some accountability, and monitoring some of that stuff, and then talking it through and say, my roadblock this week is that I did not want to get off the couch or move. Mm-hmm. So you talk about, well, what could you do? What are some things that you did do in your life? Sometimes, okay, well, I cooked all my meals today, or this week, but my exercise was horrible. And I'm like, great. While you're in the kitchen cooking, do 15 squats, do calf raises. While you're waiting for the water to boil, do 15 jumping jacks. I mean, those are little things that we can talk about, or even just waking up 10 minutes early to do that. Or, oh, well, what time did you go to bed? Well, I went to bed at like 12:30 and I couldn't get up in the morning. Well, so maybe we should adjust the bedtime, right? So you can get up and feel more energetic, and that will help you get off the couch. But good job on cooking your meals at home. That's awesome. That is a huge step in the right direction. Right. So each week we focus on just one thing to progress us further. You don't have to do it all at once. It's not going to work.
I love that you understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a lot. Life is a lot. We have a lot of stuff that we put on our plates for ourselves now. And again, why mental health tends to be, I think at this time, so it's becoming a topic because it's an issue. You have all kinds of things going on now, and it's because people just can't deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But it makes it feel feasible the way that you talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think mentally we are putting, like you said, the shoulds, we're putting all these expectations are, well, I should be as good as her, or we're watching social media and saying,
Mhm.
well, she looks all put together. Why am I not like her? I must be a loser because I'm not like her. Well, a lot of people on social media put only the great things on social media.
Right.
And, I'm a component of, let's just be real,
Yeah.
my life is not perfect. My kids eat school lunch, you know,
This is something that's really hard for you.
Really, it was, but now I've
Ah,
come to terms that actually, now that I understand the teenage brain and
yes.
they want to step away from mom and dad, the more I push for them not to have school lunch and that they should take their lunch to school, the more they wanted to go the other direction.
Right.
So I let it go, and now they're starting to come back and they don't want the school lunch every day,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a win. They're figuring it out for their body.
Right.
My one is boycotting his supplements. Well, he's been more sick this winter than he ever has been, but he's eating crap food,
Mhm.
taking his supplements, and he's also rebelling about going to bed at a good hour. Oh, I wonder why.
Right. But they do
He's
have to
had
figure
more
it out for them.
colds.
Yeah.
He's had
They
way
do.
more colds.
Well, and I think it's funny because I think adults are more like teenagers than we realize, because we like to boycott stuff too, right? It's just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, even though I know I should. I'm not going to do that. So I would love for people to at least get an opportunity to see your work. So I know that you and I were talking about putting together some sort of a package or special for those that listen to this podcast. And what we kind of came up with is that we'll put a link in the comments that will take us to two different places. One, you have a Facebook group.
Yes.
And give us an idea of what's in the Facebook group. Why would I click and like and want to be on your Facebook group?
Well, more importantly, that Facebook group I put together a little less than a year ago to help inspire people to just pick up nuggets and implement them into their life. And then when they're ready or able or want support, they have support with accountability within the group and hearing from other people, or accountability from me on a one-on-one private basis. And then I have some group stuff too. But in the Facebook group, there's education, there's funny stuff, uplifting, there's recipes, there's new research that I have found I put in there. So there's a variety of things all under the umbrella of health and wellness. And that's why I named it Inspiring Healthy Concept. My business is called Inspiring Health Solutions, but Inspiring Healthy Concepts. And so that is what I try to do. And it takes a lot of time and effort and work. So any of you who go there, don't just be the watcher. Add things like, I love, last week it was all about travel foods. And so what are your easy travel foods? If you're traveling, what can you bring that's simple and easy so you don't get stuck at the gas station buying that Twinkie?
Right.
And so, I kind of try to support people through that process. But participate if you go there, share some comments and things that you need help with, share your struggles, share your frustrations, or share your triumph and successes. We definitely want to celebrate each other. And that's another thing that we do in there as well. So
Yeah, it sounds like it's important to invest in it, right? So that you feel like you're part of the group and it makes you want to do the healthy things. Do the
Right.
things that you're learning and incorporate them in your day. And instead of making it another thing you have to do, it's something that you kind of like,
Right.
kind of neat and fun.
Yeah. And, I learn from my clients too, and so you don't want to just rely on me when you're in a group like that. It's just, it can be so much more enriched when we all participate with it, because, I learned things like, oh, you tried that and that really helped you. Oh, great. Maybe someone else could try that and that'll help them as well.
Right.
Sometimes that happens. So those are good things too.
And so we also talked about having a link that actually goes to your 7-day sugar cleanse on your website, and that if they enter the promo code podcast, it will give them 25% off of that sugar cleanse.
Right.
Right. So we will put that link as well in the description of this podcast, but leave us with something that you think is important, if you don't mind.
That I think is important.
Yeah, like a little wisdom tip in
Yeah.
your world and all of you've learned.
Okay. Well, I'll relate it back to what we're talking about today. I wrote down some biohacks for mental health and wellness, because so many of us, we don't want it to just be completely focused on food or taking a pill or that kind of thing. But these are things that you're in control of and that they're simple. And so the first one is sunlight. Sunlight helps our mental health so much. And when you go out in sunlight and you're in the woods and you can get light and air, when you're in the trees and amongst the nature, you actually have nature's antibiotic release to us that we can breathe in.
Wow.
And that can help calm us down and calm our body down and lower cortisol. Cortisol creates stress and anxiety. So being in the sunlight and then walking within nature. So now you're getting movement, you're getting air, you're breathing in natural antioxidants, and you're getting some sunlight. So if you can sit and just get 20 minutes, as much skin without sunscreen as possible, you're also going to raise your vitamin D levels, and vitamin D levels can definitely help with our moods, help with energy and fatigue. So exercise, we talked about, breathing, lots of breath work. Really breathing it in, pulling it out, breathing 10 times like that simply. And there's many different ways of breathing. There's the Wim Hof technique and there's all sorts of techniques, but breathing is huge to calm us down as well. But it's the fastest way to calm the central nervous system if you do it like 10 times. And just kind of gets us better perspective of whatever it is that we're dealing with that may be causing anxiety or stress or lowering our threshold and getting depressed, that type of thing. So meditation, I can't say I'm an expert in that. This is one I'm working on, but even if you meditated for a minute, start someplace. And I know there's meditators out there that meditate for a really long time. That's not me. I'd like to be able to do that someday, but I'm working towards it and I'm getting better at it the more I do it. Right. So find ways, Google it, YouTube, have all that stuff. Hang out with positive people.
That's a big one.
Yeah, because so many of us compare ourselves with other people, but if we're hanging out with the right people, that definitely can light us up and raise our vibration and bring us to a much better place. And you'll notice that when you are eating with positive people, your digestion is so much better. So chew your food, be eyeball to eyeball, put the phones away and really connect with people. And if you're hanging out with people that aren't positive, that don't light you up, that you don't feel better after you've been in their presence, find new friends.
Yes.
Volunteer, involved with your church, go to, some place that is bringing people together and find new ways to be around people that are more uplifting. And then red light therapy is another one. That is something that can help lift us up and create better mood, and it helps with collagen production in our skin. So that's always,
so we're beautiful as well.
That's right. So, and I usually do that when meditating.
So you do that while meditating?
Yeah, the red light therapy. So being in light, I have my sad light here that is just because my pantry is a little dark, but it always just helps to have light to help with that depression, anxiety, and moods and things like that. So just a few biohacks that most of them don't cost money.
Right. I love that. And we all love collagen and beauty. So is there any red light therapy lamp that you recommend, or is it, what are we looking for when we're buying that?
Mito Red is the one I have, MITO Red. There's Juve, I think that's JOOV, Juve Light. There's several on the markets now. I can't say that I'm an expert in that area at all. All I know is that the science shows that it helps with mood and collagen and healing internally in the body.
Love that.
What's that?
I said, I love that. I love that because meditation is part of my daily thing that I have, learned to bring into my life. And if I can put red light therapy on while I'm meditating, it's all about what little things can we do that we can add to our life that doesn't add stress to us, right? So turning on a light doesn't add me any stress if I'm already sitting there.
Right.
Or if you have it while you're, at your desk, or if you have it while you're reading a book, or whatever it is that makes your life a little bit easier. And it helps with mental health, and it helps your body heal. I mean, and if you look amazing on top of it, it's great, but that's not the point.
Right.
But we do have to say it does help. Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. What an amazing amount of information in a relatively short period of time. And I think that you have way more than that to offer. So let's get your website, if you don't mind giving us that.
Yeah. inspiringhealthsolutions.com.
Inspiringhealthsolutions with an S.com. Love it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
No,
We'll
thank you, Barbie. I appreciate all that you're doing to support women and individuals with mental health and getting them to a point where they feel calm in their own body. And that's amazing work as well. I can't do what I do without people doing the mental piece. So thank you for all that you're doing. And thank you for inviting me on your podcast. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Synergy, right? That's
right.
what we need to do, have synergy.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you. And I will be liking your Facebook group as well. So I invite others to join us in doing that. And let's all become a community that helps each other.
That's right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.